Hi everybody, this is actually my second stream. I'm sorry, the first stream didn't save to the VOD. I thought I had it set in the settings to save the VODs, but I didn't see the VOD after the last stream, and when I checked settings, it was set to not save them. So, sorry that stream's gone from last week, but fingers crossed, this stream should be saving this time. So I'll be able to put this one on YouTube along with future streams. So tonight, I'm going to be making a candy train, which is something that my family did when I was little, and it's just one of my really fondest and happiest memories of Christmas from when I was a young child. We didn't get a chance to do it every Christmas, but it's something we did at least a few times, and I remember I loved it every time. So that's something that I know a lot of other people do for Christmas as well, and it's just one of the holiday traditions that we had in my family too that I'd like to share with you tonight. So usually when we made a candy train, we would glue everything together with melted chocolate, and then when the chocolate cooled down, it would solidify and then keep everything in place. But my microwave's downstairs, and I'm upstairs, and also I wanted to see if there was a option that we could do without a microwave at all, so I'm going to give using just canned cake icing a try. We'll see how that works. I've got a little plastic knife to spread it with, and we'll just glue all the pieces together with this and see how it goes. I think it should go pretty well as long as I don't jostle the train too much. Now, when you set up to do one of these kind of food crafts, especially if you've got kids with you, do yourself a favor and set up a little waste basket next to you for all the trash. Not your whole big garbage can that has all the garbage that if some toddlers knock something over that you're going to have banana peels on the floor. But I've just used an empty cardboard box and put a trash bag in it. That works perfectly well. Or you can just, if you have a wicker waste basket or something like that, that works great. I've got mine set up just right next to me so I can just throw trash away as I go and not have a mess. I find that works out pretty well for me. So the first thing I want to do is start with the train tracks. And there's a lot of different things you can use for train tracks, just anything that is, it kind of depends on what size train you want to make. You could use little regular pretzel sticks. I've got pretzel rods, the bigger ones. And then for I don't know much about what pieces of trains and train tracks are called, but the little bars that go across the train tracks. We're going to be using individual pieces of Kit Kats. So we'll have the Kit Kats going horizontally and the pretzel rods going lengthwise, if that makes sense. And then once we get the train tracks laid down, another use for the knife is opening candy bags. Then you don't have to fight with it or go look for a scissors. Once we get the train tracks laid down, then we can start putting the train itself together on top. And we've got, I guess I can kind of give you the tour of what we've got. I've already shown you the Kit Kats, the pretzel rods, and the icing. For the engine at the very front, we're going to be using a Swiss cake roll. You can use any brand, it doesn't matter, but one of these, chocolate cakes that's long and round. It's going to be the nose of the engine. And we'll probably put some graham crackers or something behind it to finish it off. And got some cosmic brownies. Again, you could just make brownies and cut them into rectangles. I'm not sure what shape these are exactly because I haven't had them in a while. We're going to open the package and take a look at those. I allowed myself to get sidetracked from making the tracks. No pun intended. Yeah, those are perfect. Those are cute little rectangles. So those can work perfectly well for train cars behind the engine, depending again on how big you want your train to be. We might do that for some of those. I also want to try putting together train tracks with graham crackers. We got cinnamon because in my house we like the cinnamon flavor better, but it doesn't matter. You can use cinnamon, you can use honey, you could use anything you want. You could even use saltines or something. It doesn't really matter. We've got some different options for the wheels for the train. Again, it depends on what size your train is going to be. I'm going to put a lid on this icing here so it's not sitting open. If you've got bigger train cars, Then you can use chocolate sandwich cookies. Again, I'm using an off-brand. It doesn't have to be an on-brand. It can be any brand. You could use Ritz crackers or off-brand of those. The round butter crisp crackers. Those are about the same size. I like the sandwich cookies because they're dark black and they kind of look like train wheels to me. I don't think we'll use them for the wheels, but you could also use something like this, little gummy rings. Those can be cute. Let's see, where do I... Oh, there they are. Or you can use those little mints like you get in a restaurant, the little round Christmas mints. We got the spearmint ones, the green ones, because we thought those would be pretty. You could use the regular red ones, you could use green ones, you could use a mixture if you want to have different colors on your train and just make it fancy. And then we got a whole bunch of just bags of random candies of all different kinds just to load up the train with. We got some jelly beans, some fruit chews, some Smarties, of course. Those are always popular in this house. I happen to like the little cherry sours. The sour, kind of like, if you haven't had them, they're kind of like jelly beans, a little bit harder, crunchier to get through, but pretty much like a jelly bean, but cherry flavored to sour. I think they're really good. Again, brand doesn't matter on any of these, and you can use any kind of candy that you like. You can just raid your cupboards for leftover Halloween candies as well. You could use little individual chocolates, anything like that you want to load up your train cars with, so you have cargo that your train is carrying away with you. So let's get started on making these train tracks. I'm going to start by opening up and snapping into individual pieces these Kit Kats for our railway. Oh, I didn't show you what we're building on. So I didn't have a big tray. I have the biggest tray I've got. I don't really use cookie sheets, so we don't have any of those giant cookie sheets. You could certainly use one of those. I didn't have a big tray big enough to build on. The biggest tray we've got is like one of those oval turkey platters, and I thought that would still be a little bit small because it is not really the biggest. So what I did was we just raided the lid of a tote box and washed it so it's clean. You can just put food right on it. If you're still worried about eating directly off of a tote lid, if that bothers you, you can wrap it with plastic cling wrap, or you can put parchment paper or butcher paper on it. Anything like that is perfectly fine. Tin foil. As for me, we've got a nice clean lid. It's been washed. I'm perfectly happy to eat off of it, and so is my family, so that's what we're going with. So I'm going to be laying out the Kit Kats for the railway. And that might take a while. So I was also thinking, this being, Merry Christmas Eve. I forgot to say that when I started the stream. But Merry Christmas Eve to everybody, and Merry Christmas if it's already Christmas in your time zone. I'm not sure what parts of the world it might be already Christmas if you celebrate, and if you don't celebrate, then I hope you're having a great morning, evening, night, whatever time it is there, and whatever day it is. I hope you're having a good time. Anyway, I was saying I thought that this could just be a good time to just sort of hang out and chill out and, share some fond childhood memories. One thing that really, I guess, kind of partly made this a fond childhood memory for me for Christmas tradition is that my mom also liked to do, not really candy making, but molding chocolates into, just melting chocolate and then pouring it into candy molds and making little chocolate lollipops. And then painting them, not with paint, but with white chocolate or almond bark, that she would also melt little bowls of that and then put in food coloring of different colors and then just use a little clean food paintbrush and then paint like paint the eyes and nose and mouth on a little face, or paint paint it, a Christmas tree green and then put little dots for the ornaments or whatever. That was a craft that she really enjoyed doing when I was little. And so because working with melted chocolate and candies in general was something that I grew up familiar with as just a hobby in my home, that just made making a candy train that much more familiar and comfortable, and just sort of a cozy way to spend Christmas or Christmas Eve. Of course, like I'm sure a lot of you, another holiday tradition we had every year was watching the old claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoons, movies, claymation movies, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Rudolph's Shiny New Year, and sometimes we'd get carried away and watch the Easter special and everything as well. We had, my mom had them on videotape, so we were able to watch all of them whenever we wanted and not have to wait for the specials to air on TV, but we did watch them on TV as well. And that's just something that I remember growing up with those movies. So, the moment of truth. We are about to find out if canned cake icing, is going to work as glue. Now, I'm laying out the train on I'm not sure. I'm thinking of laying the train tracks out on kind of an angle, but I don't know how much room that's going to give me for building a train, so maybe I should lay it out along one edge and then try to turn a corner somehow. Let's see. I think that should look okay. Okay. So why don't I try, not really a curve, because these pretzel rods are straight, but here's a shorter pretzel rod in the bag, or if you don't have a shorter one, you can just snap them, but I'm trying to save the long ones. I'm probably not going to use anywhere near all of these, but I like to start with the smaller ones. And actually, I don't even have to snap that one at all. That's going to make a nice kind of curve for the train to go around. And then on the inside, we'll just lay it out as more of a hard angle, like that. And then what I'm going to do is put the Kit Kats, if you can see that, kind of let that one be a corner one. So our little train can kind of go around the corner. Actually, I think I'm going to put the pretzel rods on top of the Kit Kats. I think that's how train tracks work. I don't know, because I don't spend that much time around real trains, so this is going to be a game of watch and see if Rebecca can figure this out. But I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, that it's like that, rather than having the sideways bars across the top, because the train wheels would be riding on the actual long bars on the outer edge. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to put the pretzels on top. So that means I need to start putting icing. I use chocolate because it reminds me of using the melted chocolate as a kid, and because we're using so many other chocolate things, I thought it wouldn't show as much with the icing glue. But you can use any flavor you want. You can use lemon or strawberry if you want. You can use vanilla icing, cream cheese icing. You can make your own icing. And, okay, so the trick is you don't want to use too much of what you're gluing with, because you don't want everything to just squish out and go everywhere. So I'm going to try to put as little as I can, but still enough that it's going to stick. And we'll see how that works. Even that looks like it's sticking pretty good. It won't, set like actual chocolate would, but it is going to keep it, I think, held pretty well. I might use a little bit more because we're using cake icing. If you're using melted chocolate, then you probably don't really need very much at all because it'll bond so much better. Like, think of it like hot glue versus a glue stick, pretty much. So I'm going to use extra icing, and if it squishes out, it squishes out. That's fine. So, not really sure how many of these to lay down. I'm going to lay them down maybe about so that, like, you could put one Kit Kat between each of the Kit Kats. And I'm just going to put the chocolate icing on top of all of the Kit Kats and then smush the pretzel down on top of the entire row at once. And hopefully that will hold everything in place really well. And I think it will. I'm lucky that I don't have toddlers to knock everything over, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't bond as well. Let me know if you've got young kids or if you've got a bunch of rowdy pets that are going to be knocking into the table or anything. If you try using the cake icing or if you've tried it in the past, then I'd love to know if that worked for you. If you want to do melted chocolate, it's actually pretty easy. You don't need to do it on the stove to melt the chocolate at all. We always just melted it in the microwave. I know some people aren't a fan of the microwave, and that's fine. If you want to do it on the stove, that's perfectly fine. But you can melt chocolate very easily in the microwave as well. It doesn't take very much time, and I saw somebody had mentioned recently, I was kind of young when my mom was doing the candy making, so I didn't remember this myself, but I had recently heard somebody mention that you need to stir the chocolate to get it to melt, that it takes some agitation to get it to melt as well as just the heat. So you don't want to overcook your chocolate because you keep cooking it for a few seconds and then it never melts. You want to take it out and try stirring it and make sure that it's actually melting for you. But once you get it melted, then it'll stay melted pretty well for at least a few minutes at a time, and then you just have to, if it starts to get too hard to work with again, if it starts to thicken up and starts turning from chocolate sauce into like Nutella again, then you want to, or cake icing, then all you need to do is just put it back in the microwave or back on the stove for just a very short amount of time, just to reheat it a little bit and melt it again. And it looks like that is going to work perfectly. And there is our first set of train tracks. So I will scoot those that way, and I will get some more Kit Kats going for the turn. Another holiday tradition that I remember was hanging up stockings, of course. We never had a fireplace when I was growing up, but we just hang up the stockings on the wall anywhere and just consider it good enough. And that was fun. We'd hang up a stocking for everybody and then have those for putting little treats in for Christmas. I remember we didn't just have we never really did the oranges. I know some people have mentioned they have the little mandarin oranges get put in stocking stuffers. We usually just had maybe little candy treats or smaller toys like things like, I don't know, a little set of jacks or something like that to play with that would go into the stockings rather than really fruit. I mean, that sounds like a nice idea, but just that's not anything that I remember from growing up that we ever did. So, every family has their different traditions, and ours was just little treats and doodads and party favor kind of things. So, let's see. I'm trying to think. We didn't really do a lot of traditions when I was growing up. Partly that was because I think it was just my immediate family whenever we'd celebrate Christmas. My extended family actually lives in Australia, and I'm in the United States and have lived in the United States for almost all of my life. So, obviously, traveling to go see everybody in Australia every year wasn't really in the cards for us. So, we just did holidays on our own, just immediate family, and I think my parents were just kind of more interested in coming up with new ideas of fun things to do. They were more focused on doing new things rather than on maintaining too many traditions. But I guess I'd just say the overall feeling of tradition that I get from Christmas time with my family was just having a good cozy time, having fun, watching movies at home, hot chocolate, and we didn't ever have any particular Christmas dinner that we had that was any one recipe that we'd stick to for tradition's sake or anything like that. I think I messed this one up just a little bit. I'm going to need to put the chocolate icing a little bit further in on this railroad tie to allow for the curve. So we'll just let it be messy because it's a corner, so we'll just see how it goes. There we go. And then when I pick it up and put it back down, I'm going to try to put it down again so that the part of the pretzel rod that's already got chocolate stuck to it, that side still goes down so that you don't have chocolate everywhere. And that is our train corner. And then I'll get started on the next side. But yeah, I would love to hear about some traditions that you maybe remember from growing up that your family always did that brings a warm, fuzzy feeling to you. Any particular games, movies, recipes that you had every year or almost every year that it just doesn't feel like the holidays without, whether that's Christmas, whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, whether it's maybe just some traditions that you grew up with that don't have anything to do with holidays at all, that are just things that you remember that, like, you had Taco Tuesdays every Tuesday or something like that. Or you have, I don't know what your traditions would be, but whatever they are, I'd be definitely interested in hearing about it. Let's see, I'm going to try to be smart and see and count how many Kit Kats I've used per pretzel rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is good for this side. And then we'll get the chocolate icing. And see, it's really not using that much at all. We've already done that much of the track, probably almost half of what I'm going to be doing, maybe a third, and barely dented the icing at all. So we really don't need to overdo it, even with the cake icing, even less with the chocolate. And you can use, like I said, you can use other things for the railroads. You could use pretzel sticks. You could use candy bars. You could use the Smarties just in their little wrapped bags and lay them straight. You could just draw a a railroad track out with cake icing or chocolate. Just pipe icing out of a piping bag in the shape of a railroad track. You could even make a candy train on top of a cake that way, and just, make a sheet cake or a quarter sheet cake, and ice it as normal with plain icing, of whatever color. Maybe put green icing so it looks like you're on the grass, or you could use chocolate icing so it's like a muddy track, and then you could put some powdered sugar on top of that, on top of the chocolate icing so it's like it snowed. And then you can use your piping bag and whatever color and flavor of icing you want for your tracks, and just draw the straight lines going wherever across your cake, and the little lines going between. And then you can build your candy train right on top of your cake. And then you can have a cute little Christmas cake, or you could even do it for a birthday, or for anything, really. You could do it for a potluck. That could be fun. And then watch everybody be confused trying to figure out how to serve a candy train to themselves. But, so it might not be as great an idea for a potluck, but you could certainly use it for any number of different kind of occasions. It would be, I think, a lot of fun. And you could use... you can make that be a much more mini, smaller train. You could even use, I've got these, Kit Kats are snack size, so they're just 2 of them together. But if you get the full-size ones that are 4, you can just break them in half so you have 2, and that could be, a little train car. And then you can put some candies on top of it, and put little, I'd probably use, you could use little individual Smarties for wheels, or you could use the mints, just depending on how big you want your wheels to be. And then that could be how you make your train. It really all just depends on what you want to do, and how you want it to look. It's kind of like a gingerbread house, really. It's just more about having fun, being creative, and crafting with it, rather than following any kind of a specific recipe or set of instructions. There's no right or wrong. Well, there's lots of right ways to do it. There's no wrong way to do it, unless you're not happy with what you made. And even if you're not 100% happy with it, then it's like any kind of craft or art project. It's, there, I've got 6. It's like, any kind of craft or art project. You just, figure out what you would want to do better next time, and practice and learn. And it's something my mom always used to say. I'm sure she didn't make it up or anything, but it is something that she said a lot, is that art is about the process and not the product. So she always encouraged us to have fun with making art, whether it's art, whether it's a craft, whether it's molding clay, whether it's crochet, whether it's painting. We got to do a lot of different creative things. She encouraged us to do a lot of creative things, and so did my dad. So regardless of what you're making, whether you're drawing or sculpting, it's just something she always encouraged us to enjoy the act of actually making it. And if you don't like what you turn out with at the end, then that's fine. You don't have to keep it. And if you do like it, then you can keep it. And if you don't like it, then think about what you want to do different next time. And if you do like it, then, celebrate that and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to kind of see where I want to snap this pretzel rod. And it doesn't matter if I get it wrong. I'll just keep going and trying. Looks like I got it just a little bit too long. I'm going to break off a little tiny piece. And that's one of the fun things about making a candy train, too, is you can eat and snack with the kids or by yourself while you're working. Now, I'm going to put this so that it's snapped on an angle. I'm going to put it so that is down, so that the pretty top of the pretzel is what shows. And there we have our train track corner. Excuse me. So we've got enough tracks now, I think, that we could start to lay out the actual train itself. I'm going to put the engine here, and then just sort of work my way this way. And then, depending on how much train I want to make, and where I decide to stop and put the caboose, well, I can either lay more train tracks if I need it, going back around this way, or just stick with what I've got here. So, without further ado, it is finally time to actually start the train itself. And I always love the train engine part. I think that's fun because it's different shapes and not just kind of a square rectangle. Now, I like the whole thing, but I always thought the train engine was cute. And don't worry, none of this is going to waste. It's all going to get eaten eventually. So, I just wanted to bring up the whole packages just to show everybody what we're using. So, there's a little nose of the train. I'm going to go right here at the very front. And, well, I'll maybe put it a little bit further back so that we can put a, I don't know what you call it, the nose of the train has that kind of grill on the front usually that is on a slant. And we've got a few different options for what we can do that with. So, we've got these jelly rings, like I showed earlier. Yes, hi Mongoose12. I am going to eat this candy train with my nephew. It's going to be one of our treats for Christmas tomorrow. It's Christmas Eve where I am. It's just 7:30 at night here. Yeah, so just trying to decide what to make the little grill for the nose of the train with. Got some gummy rings. I could cut the top of one and kind of open it up to make kind of a U shape and put that on the front, stick it on. Or we've got some watermelon slices that are already kind of triangles. I think that could be actually pretty cute this time. Or there's also these little orange slices. So I think I might start by trying the watermelon slices and see how that looks at the front of the train. And I think since the nose of the train is sitting a little bit low on the tracks, I'm going to prop it up on top of a snack-sized Kit Kat bar so that it just comes up over the tracks a little better, and so it's able to be seen a little better. And I've just been using just chocolate cake icing to glue everything together. You can also use melted chocolate. You could use, yeah, I can't really think of any other options. You could maybe need some Tootsie Rolls or caramels or something until they get softened up and use that to stick some of the pieces together. But you'd want to be careful with that because some of the more fragile pieces, when you try to stick them together with something hard like that, might try to break. But with something nice and soft like the cake icing or the melted chocolate, it works pretty well. So there is the beginning of the nose of the train engine. And I'm going to see. Ooh, those smell nice. I'm going to see how it looks with a little watermelon on the front. And I think that looks pretty cute. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Just, and we can use whatever's left over of the cake icing or any of, whatever's left over of the cake icing after this, we can just put on a cake, make a cake sometime and put it on the cake. And all of these other things we'll just snack on and eat eventually. So, there is the little grill on the front of the train. And then I just have to figure out what the rest of the engine looks like, because I'm not an expert with trains and I'm starting to make a mess here. So I'm going to set these things aside. Okay. I'm losing the plot here. Right. We're making the engine. So, what we got this time is just graham crackers. I'm going to see how that works for making pieces of the train. We've also got cosmic brownies for pieces of the train. I think the cosmic brownies might be too flat for using for just the train engine. So I think for this, I'm going to go with the graham crackers. And I think if I break them into halves, and so they're squares, then I can then glue those together with the cake icing and kind of make a box. And then I can, oh, those snap nice. I can make that into the back half of the train engine. So, this is going to be a little more interesting. I've glued some of the other things together with the cake icing. We will see what happens with the graham crackers, because they're not really holding together by a large space, but just like on their corners. So I'm kind of wondering if that's going to hold together or if they're going to fall apart. But that is part of the fun of doing craft like that, is just trying things and see what happens. And if it falls apart, you just pick it up and find a different way or put it back together. So, okay, so if I put them like that, that should be pretty okay. That looks like that's going to work. And then I just need to get the other side on before it decides it doesn't want to cooperate with me anymore and decides to fall. Getting chocolate on my hands, but that's okay. And then if you wanted to, you could put icing on the outside. Just ice it like a cake, and then you could decorate that. You could use anything else like saltines or pieces of gingerbread house you could repurpose for this. I think they might even make some gingerbread house kits that are actually for making trains. I'm not sure, but I know they make a few different kinds of gingerbread kits. So if you wanted something that kind of gives you a little bit more of a ready-made experience for this, you could check and see if they've got something like that. But like I said, I'm not 100% sure if they've got anything like that on the market anywhere. But for me, I've always thought things like this, doing it from scratch with just go to the store and see, what are we going to make the cars out of? What are we going to make the engine out of? That's always been a lot of the fun for me, because then it's not just, a craft that you do for a little while in an evening and then it's done. It's something that you can be kind of thinking about and being creative ahead of time and shopping and deciding what you want to make. And then when you put it together, then if you came up with the ideas of how you wanted to do it, then you've got that to be proud of too. And it kind of just makes it more personalized and kind of fun. And then, I might have to take a picture of this and actually share it on Twitter later, because this is going a lot better than I actually thought it would, and a lot more smoothly. I was expecting to have a little bit more trouble figuring out how to do this, because we haven't really made a candy train since I was a kid. We might have done it once for my nephew when he was young, since I grew up, but I wasn't really that involved in that one. So I've been kind of just trying to figure out as we go how to do it. Now, I've got these, so it's a little bit narrower one way than the other. And if I put it the wide way, it may have a better base of support, but I'm going to live dangerously on the edge and put it the narrow way, because I like how that looks better. And then I just have to glue, well, I say glue, but I mean with the cake icing, I just have to glue the nose of the engine to the main, I don't know, cabin, car, whatever, of the train engine. And I probably will end up icing some of these areas of these train cars so that I can decorate it just like a gingerbread house and stick candies to it. I'm kind of getting that watermelon wedge stuck on there a little better. There we go. And I think it came out a lot better than I thought it would, actually. I'm actually very pleased with that. So that's nice. Okay, so now on to the actual train cars. I think I want to try to keep them pretty small, so I'm going to break the... And if you get broken graham cracker pieces that are too small, just set them aside. It's not a problem. As long as you don't run out, you don't have a problem. You can just take the broken pieces, set them aside, and you can crumble them up on the around the train tracks to make like broken up pieces of cement or broken up rocks that would be laying near the train tracks. Maybe put them in little piles, or you can just put them aside in a zip top bag and save them for making. Oh no! For making graham cracker crusts. So breaking these into smaller pieces may not work as well as I thought. So I may be sticking with just squares. I think that might be the safer option here. But that's okay too. That's, like I was saying earlier, that's part of the fun. You just see what works. If it doesn't work, you found out, and now you know something, and you just try something else. So these are not exactly squares. They're still ever so slightly rectangular, at least this brand. And I made the train engine so they're just slightly taller than wide, but I'm going to make the train cars so they're just wider than tall. So I'll glue them together the other way. So I just need to put the chocolate icing on the edges and stick it together and put a base, so it'll be kind of the upside down version of this. So instead of having a lid on top, it's going to have a floor on the bottom. And then what that means is we will have these little train cars that we can fill with cargo, which is going to be whatever assorted random candy we didn't use for anything else. So you just fill up the bins. You can sort it so you have like a delivery of gummy bears, for example, or you can just mix it, or you can do different mixes in different cars. But I'm just kind of vibing with it and gonna just kind of go where my heart takes me with this. And we'll just see how it goes and what it looks like when it's finished. And, I just think that's kind of fun. And yes, if anybody is wondering, I am still extremely nervous streaming. It's only the second time I've ever streamed, so I'm very new to this. But I'm not as nervous as I was last week. I think partly I've got the distraction of a craft to do rather than just trying to talk. I think I need a little more chocolate on that. So I've got this helping me keep my mind off of the nerves from streaming. But also just that I did it last week, and I survived the experience. Everything went okay. Nobody showed up and laughed at me or anything. I didn't think anybody was going to, but, whatever my little instinctive lizard brain was afraid was going to happen if I went on a live stream didn't happen, and went just fine. I don't think I think there was maybe one person showed up. But like I said, I'll say it again since the VOD didn't save last week. This is the way I see it. If nobody shows up, or only a few people show up to the stream, then it doesn't matter if I do anything silly, because there was nobody to witness it. So nobody saw me make a fool of myself. It doesn't matter. Then it's just like, dancing and singing in your own house. It doesn't matter if you look silly, if nobody sees it. And I've also said, on the other hand, if a whole bunch of people show up and watch the stream, it also doesn't matter if I'm silly or feel like I make a fool of myself, because if a bunch of people are here, one way or the other, that means that whatever I'm doing is something people enjoy, and that's a good thing. It doesn't matter. There's, think of the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. People really enjoy having things be silly and laughing. That's just a way of spreading happiness in the world. So I'm not afraid of cringe, and I'm not afraid of being awkward, and I'm not afraid of being silly. Really, my only main fear with streaming has been that I would run out of things to say and be like a deer in headlights, and that it would just be something that would be boring, and that I would just get scared and turn off the stream and not actually do this. But I'm really happy with myself that I've pushed myself to do this. I'm very proud of myself for that, too. I think for this I might need actually to turn these the other way, and I will do 1.5 crackers on the bottom here, just to have it be enough for the base. And that is a train car. Oh, that's why my train looks silly. I forgot the wheels. Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I will just do the wheels last. So that's one train car. And I think, let's see, I've got the engine, one train car, I've got room for one more. I think I am going to have to lay more tracks. So that's just a matter of doing, same as before with the Kit Kats and the pretzel rods, or whatever you want to use for your train tracks. I'm going to put this pile of rubble here for now. Oh, another thing you can do, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up the base of the train with broken up pieces of graham crackers, because that kind of fills it up pretty well with just a few pieces, and then you don't need to use as much candy to have it pop up over the top and look pretty. So it's kind of like, think of it as like the, I want to say lettuce, not salad either, grass, yeah, that's not salad and that's not lettuce. It's like, it's like the little plastic or paper grass that they put in the bottom of an Easter basket, so that when they put the treats in on top, then they can pop out over the top of the basket and look nice, and then you have that kind of nice filler in the bottom to help bring everything up, and then you don't have to use as much of whatever you're decorating with. So I have this other broken, well, let's make the rest of the tracks here, and then I'll make the corner. So what I'm going to end up with is a U shape. It's going to be, I'll slide this over a little bit as well so you can see the whole thing. We've got the train tracks going this way, and then around, and then back this way, so it'll be a U shape, but it won't go in a whole circle like you might sometimes see with a toy train track. And I do have my wastebasket sitting right next to me. Now, there's crumbs getting everywhere from the graham crackers and everything on this tray, but that's okay because, it just makes it look like the outdoors where the train would be, I'm just going to pretend that that's deliberate, and we'll just sort of let that be what it is. I'm trying to keep my mess a little bit contained here by throwing away these wrappers right away into this wastebasket so it doesn't get away from me while I'm trying to do this little craft. And then we have this pretzel rod here, which I broke off of. I'm going to break off a little bit more. And then that'll be perfect for the... It's not showing on the camera, just a moment. It'll be perfect for turning the other corner. And I'm going to put these brownies aside. We might not actually end up using the brownies. I might still, though, because I want to have maybe a bit of variety with the train cars for fun. So maybe what I'll do is kind of alternate them in between. So we've got the engine, and then a graham cracker train, and then brownies, which, again, like the Swiss cake roll, I'm going to prop that up on top of a unbroken piece of candy, of Kit Kat. And then it will show above the pretzel rods on the train tracks and not get buried too low. And then that'll be kind of like a little mini flatbed train car that we can stack some things on pretty. I don't know why there's one of these sprinkles on the bottom of the brownie, but it's going in my face now. And whenever I'm gluing two pieces of something together, I like to put the glue or the icing or the melted chocolate or whatever it is, spread it on the smaller thing. Because then you don't have to guess how much of this to spread it on. You just spread it on the entire smaller thing, in this case the Kit Kat, and then stick it to the bottom of the brownie. And now we have got here our little train car. I think I might stack it on another one because it's still a little bit low. So we'll double stack that. And despite my best efforts, all these wrappers are coming for my life here. Oh my gosh. And you know, I'm going to try something interesting. I'm going to glue the flat bottoms of the Kit Kats together with this cake icing rather than putting it on the top and having them both be upright. So this Kit Kat is going to be upside down on the train tracks. And I think that should work perfectly good. And I am probably still using too much icing because I have always had that problem. I always use too much glue, too much cake icing, too much chocolate whenever I try to glue anything together. I'm always worried that it's not going to stick together, so I just want to make sure. And there is our little train car. Excuse me. And then later on we can add the wheels. So, back to the train tracks again. And, yeah. So it's just pretty much the same as what I was doing earlier. Just put, oh, that is way too much icing. Just put some icing on the ends of the Kit Kats on top. And then I can lay the pretzel rods across the top of the Kit Kats once I have these ready to go. And then that actually is working out pretty well for train tracks for me. If you wanted to make a smaller train, you could use the Kit Kats going instead of the pretzel rods. Or you could just use pretzel sticks. I'm trying to think of what kind of things you could use. I think Tootsie Rolls, you can take those and just kind of... Sorry. One moment. I can't believe it. I've been muted all this time since I came back. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This is only my second time streaming with OBS. I was sure I unmuted it, but I was wrong. I'm sorry about that. So I'll try that again. we'll just go from here. Just gonna have room for one more brownie car, and then one more graham cracker car, and then after that, it will be time to add the wheels, and it will be time to add the, to fill up the graham cracker cars and load up on top of the brownie cars with all the assorted candies, so that there are cargo in the train, so that there's little treats that the train is carrying to its destination in our little land of make-believe. And this is what I was saying when I realized I was muted. I do not know how these chatty streamers who stream for 8 hours or 12 hours a day on a daily basis, I don't know how they manage to come up with a running stream of ideas of what to talk about. That's got to be really hard, or else they're just natural born talkers. I am extroverted. I do like spending time around people, but I've just never been good at figuring out how to keep a conversation going and going and going. I've always been more of a listener or responding to something that somebody else says than the person leading the conversation, so this is definitely one of the things that's new for me as a streamer. But anyway, yeah, this train is almost complete aside from the wheels and the cargo, and it's just taken a little over an hour with me kind of trying to figure it out as I go to a certain extent. And if you're doing this when you're making your train, which, you know, everybody's train is going to be different, it could take you 45 minutes or an hour and you're done. It's something you could spend 2 or 3 hours on if you want to spend a lot of time doing detail work or just having fun with the kids. It just really, there's no time limit. I'd say just make sure you set aside plenty of time and you're not boxing yourself in to only have an hour to do it or something like that. Give yourself at least 2-hour window that you don't have something else that you have to do or an appointment you have to be at or bedtime for the little ones or anything like that, so that you can spend as much or as little time as you want or need making your own candy train. And then if you have extra time after, then you just, you know, play a board game, read a book, take a bubble bath, you know, whatever you want to do. Just have some hot chocolate and watch the birds out the window, whatever it is that you like to do for fun, relaxation. You know, I think I always like to plan more time than I need rather than trying to get it on the nose in case I run out of time for any kind of an activity, especially an activity like this that's supposed to be, you know, fun and relaxing. It's not going to be fun and relaxing if you're stressing about, you know, what time is it? Oh, I've only got 10 more minutes. We got the wheels left to do, you know. That's not really any fun when you have to watch the clock while you're doing it. So for me, I'd say plan more time rather than less, especially the first time that you do it. And then, you know, you don't have to worry and you can just chill and vibe and make your train and have a good time. And it's just relaxing, good fun. Now, the last stream was supposed to save the VOD, but I had the settings wrong, so the VOD's gone, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that again. Something that I did say that I went over in last week's stream, which last week was my birthday, is that I just turned 40 this last week, a week ago today. And this streaming adventure that I'm going on is me throwing myself a midlife crisis. And I'm not doing anything stupid, don't worry. I'm not throwing away all the funds on a sports car or anything like that. I'm just using it as an excuse to push myself to do things that I would be afraid to do or wouldn't think that I have time to do, and actually, you know, make myself get around to actually trying them. Like streaming, for example, like this. And that is our last train car. Ah, it's not even. Natalie! For all you Monk fans out there. Oh, Mr. Monk would never be able to survive this experience. It's just not, it's too messy, it's not even. Oh, that would not work. I'm going to break up this pretzel rod and throw it in the bottom as well. And then we'll have something salty underneath all the candies. And, you know, I might actually just deliberately break up another graham cracker to put into the base of the cars. Because, like I said earlier, that gives the candies something to sit on. So you don't have to fill up the entire train car with candies, which, you know, not only means you don't have to worry about running out of candy, especially if you've got more limited supply. I've got a huge pile here because I didn't know what I wanted to use. Doesn't only mean you don't have to worry about using up your candy, but it also means that the whole thing won't weigh as much because the graham cracker is obviously broken up into pieces and put in the bottom of the cars are going to be lighter weight than, say, filling it completely up with jelly beans or something like that. So then if you have to move it or anything like that, it's not going to be such a chore. Oh, I don't know why I'm putting away the cake icing. I need it for the wheels. So, for the wheels, I think for the little brownie cars, I'm going to use these green Starlight mints. They're just like the little swirly mints like you get at a restaurant sometimes or when they have it at Christmas time. We got the green ones, just because, so that they'd be pretty. But, you know, if you like red for appearance or flavor, definitely go with whatever you like. So I'm going to use those for the little wheels. I think I might actually use it. We'll see how it goes. This is just sort of an experiment as you go, and if you don't like something, it's as easy as ungluing it from the train and put something else there. But I think what I'm going to do is use these for at least most of the wheels, and then use the sandwich cookies anywhere where I want bigger wheels. Like, for example, the engine, I think I'll put the sandwich cookies on so that it looks like it has bigger wheels on the engine chugging the train along. And just ignore the fact that I didn't make a caboose, because I have been planning to do this for a while now, and I never figured out what I wanted the caboose to look like, so we're just going to call this the caboose and call it a day. So let's see. I'm going to unwrap 6 of these to start with, and then just start attaching these. Oh no, I've got crumbs all over me. It's okay. And again, I'm just going to stick the chocolate on the candy rather than on the car, because then you can just take the candy and stick it on. There we go. Can you see that? It's right on the front of the engine. I'm going to put everything I do on one side, I'm going to mirror it on the other side. Now, one thing I thought about with the sandwich cookies is that you could just twist it open and then take the icing and stick that directly on. But I don't think that's going to stick very well, and as you can see, they're kind of not twisting apart very neatly. So I'm just going to leave it whole, use the cake icing like I've been using for everything else, ice the whole side of the cookie, and then I'm going to stick that to the train. And there we go. There's one wheel. And I think that looks pretty nice. And for the cars other than the engine, since that's part of the thing with that, I'm going to put on a wheel for the front and back corners and not just one in the middle. But the engine's a little bit of a special case. And I'll use the Starlight Mints for the brownie cars. Hi, I'm not sure how to say your name. Strongish Gull 10. Hi, Strongish Gull. Welcome. So, just finishing up making the candy train itself, popping the wheels on everywhere, and after that, I'm gonna fill up the train with all sorts of candies, and then it's gonna be finished. This is a tradition I remember from when I was a kid. We did it at least a few times, and I always loved it. What are some traditions that, I don't know if you feel like sharing in chat, what are some traditions that you remember from growing up, either from a holiday, Christmas, and could be any holiday, could be about just nothing to do with a holiday. Oh, thank you. I'm from, I was born in California, but I've spent most of my life in the U.S. Midwest, so I actually was surprised a few years back that somebody mentioned that I had a Midwest accent, because I never realized that I picked it up. We moved here when I was a kid, and I just always thought of myself as having a California accent, but apparently I have a Midwestern accent. Somebody mentioned that when they heard me, when I said wash, I said warsh, and they said that's not how I usually say it. You had to carve a turnip for your grandparents on Halloween? Oh, how does that work? So I know with the pumpkin, with them being hollow, that makes it kind of easy. So is it harder to carve a turnip, or is that pretty easy? Oh no, it was torture. I'm sorry. What did you carve it into? An uneven face? Well, it sounds interesting at any rate. I'm sorry it was torture, but it's an old tradition. Yeah, I haven't heard of that tradition. Do you mind saying where is that tradition from? Ireland? Okay. That's pretty neat. I haven't heard about that, but that's pretty neat. And I'm sorry if I kind of go silent here. I'm new to streaming. I'm still trying to figure out this, how to keep up a running monologue thing, and it's kind of frying my brain if I'm 100% honest. But, that's what this whole experience is about for me, is I kind of want to externalize how I'm feeling while I stream, because I know a lot of people are probably nervous about it. It's because Halloween is from here, and the Celtic people used to do it. Huh, okay. I'm going to have to look up more about that, because that's really interesting. That's really fascinating. Yeah, but yeah, I kind of want to talk about, feeling nervous or feeling uh, confused or not sure what to do with myself with streaming, because I think those might be some feelings that other people who are worried about streaming might share, because, I've been worried about streaming for the longest time, and I just thought to myself, I'm just not the kind of person who can stream. I just don't have the personality for it. But, I'm here, so. You streamed once and gave up? Oh. Did you just not like the streaming, or did it make you too nervous, or? Because, I mean, the point is, you gave it a try. So even if it is not something that is for you, you can say that you gave it a shot and you now know. You couldn't figure out all of the bots and stuff? Well, that's okay too. I'm actually not using any bots right now. I'm using OBS, which is pretty user-friendly, at least for me, just to stream. And I just decided, since I was new to streaming, what I'm doing at first is I'm not trying to do like the Let's Plays and everything like that. I've just got the one camera. I do have another setup, this one, where the webcam goes into the corner so that I could show, paint program to paint in. I was thinking I might draw on stream at some point. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to try to even deal with the bots right now. And as for auto mod, I've just set it to, I think, just whatever Twitch recommended. I'm not gonna get into that unless, people come in and start making a bunch of trouble or something. Then I would go in and adjust some settings. But I figure if I don't know what I'm doing, and Twitch does know what they're doing, I'm gonna start with what they recommend rather than trying to figure it out on my own. Figure I know better if I don't know anything. But yeah, I figured I'd start as simple as possible. Just, turn on a camera, have myself, in this case, the Candy Train. Last week, I didn't even have this. It was just me talking to a camera. Unfortunately, the VOD didn't save because I had the settings wrong. And I'm going to try out a whole bunch of different categories and see, what I like to stream and what people like to see from me. And, just kind of keep it simple, like the acronym KISS, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, as something I like to think about. And then I don't have to worry about all the complicated things right away, and I try them later. But yeah, if you ever do decide to give streaming a try again, then that's something I would recommend, is just don't worry about, the bots and the overlays and the having wow new follower pop up on screen or anything like that. You can just turn on your webcam, turn on maybe display for a game if you're a gamer, or whatever it is that you like to do, and just be there to hang out with people and go from there. You can always learn more as you go. But that's what I mean. I'm sitting here talking as if I'm some kind of expert, but this is my second stream ever. But I've been having fun, so it doesn't have to be anything complicated. I figure the streamers. I think people see the popular streamers because they're popular. More people see them, and the popular streamers are the streamers who have a lot of experience and they know what they're doing and they've learned all of these things and they've been through all these learning curves and growing pains and all that. And then people who want to start streaming, I think they tend to judge themselves against that measuring stick. And you think, if I'm not doing the same things in the same kind of way as this person who gets 60,000 people watching their stream, then I'm doing something wrong. But that's not how I look at it. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like expecting a kindergartner to do chemistry 101 in college. You know, you're going to get there eventually, but I think it's perfectly fine to just start simple. And, you know, by the time you build an audience, then, you know, you've got more time to figure all this stuff out, connect with other people who've been streaming longer that maybe can help with figuring things out, and then, you know, eventually, ideally, hopefully, you become one of the popular streamers. And then people might be looking to you, eventually, to see how to do things. So I think I'm going to use 6 more of the Starlight mints. I'm going to put 1 more set of 2 on the back of the Swiss cake roll for the engine, and I'm going to put a set of 4 on the other brownie car. And then it's going to be almost done. And this is kind of a messy craft. Crumbs are getting everywhere, but you know, it's like what time is it? It's 8:30 at night here. I started streaming about an hour and a half ago at 7 o'clock my time. Excuse me, sorry. And yeah, I was saying it's a messy kind of project, but it's like I grew up watching the Magic School Bus when I was a kid, and it's like Miss Frizzle said, let's see if I can get it right. Take chances, get messy, make mistakes. Something like that, but I can't remember how it was exactly that she said it, but I always loved that. And that's the nice thing about messes, they can always be cleaned up, so, you know. It's totally fine to make a mess. And this cake icing is actually sticking a lot better than I thought it was. This cake icing is sticking a lot better than I thought that it would. I was worried that it might be too soft and that everything might just sort of, you know, fall apart. When I was a kid, we used to stick these trains together with just melted chocolate so that when it's solidified again, it's like a candy bar and it just stays put. But, you know, it's just regular canned chocolate icing or frosting, depending on what part of the world you're in, what you call it. I'm using chocolate. You could use any flavor. And it is actually working really well. This whole thing is actually turning out a lot better than I thought it would. I was worried that I was going to have train cars falling apart. I was worried that things were going to be kind of all different sizes and not look right. And most of all, I don't know enough about trains, so I was worried that I might get all the appearance of the train wrong, but I think this is looking... It's definitely working out better than I thought that it would, so that is good. Okay, so that is the train itself, and now, just to use all the other candies that we didn't use for anything else, to fill up the train. Got some sour cherry candies, I think, on the brownie cars. I'm going to try to stack things that, hi X-Man Fizzy, thanks for lurking. Yep, just feel free to come on. Glad to have you. Anyway, I'm going to try to put things that aren't going to roll off on the brownies because they don't have a wall to keep things from falling off of them. So on that brownie car, it's going to be, well, I think I'll stack that the other way so it looks like it's stacked towards the front. It's just going to be a train car that's transporting, I guess proportionate to that train car, it's transporting giant orange slices. But it can be whatever you want it to be. It could be, you know, it could be giant seat cushions maybe. Whatever you want to imagine that it is. Because You know, that's what this is about, is just having fun, being imaginative, and, you know, doing whatever you want to do. And let's see, I've got some watermelon slices like I had on the front of the train. I'm going to stack a couple there. Let's see what I have some Smarties, I think. I'll stick those, sticking up. Maybe just a few, sticking up out of a couple of the train cars. And then we can organize some cherry sours, throw some of them in on top of those. Ah, it's getting away from me. If it runs away, catch it. And also some jelly beans. Pretty much same thing, but just the cherry sours are just cherry and just sour. Ooh, you know, actually, I have red jelly beans. I have a devious idea. I'm going to pick out the red jelly beans, and I'm going to mix them with the cherry sours so that it's an adventure in that train car of which thing are you going to get. So you don't know when you pick one out. It's kind of like the bean challenge. Are you picking up a regular red jelly bean, or are you getting a sour jelly bean? And that will be just my own little prank on myself and my nephew. I'll try to stir them up a bit. And there's going to be more sour ones than jelly beans, but that's okay. It's good enough. And then I'll put these rainbow ones in there. Toss a few in there. And scoop these back up and put them back. And I do want to try to get an assortment. So I don't have zip top bags up here with me, but the leftover candies will be going in zip top bags for later. Don't worry. We've got some fruit juice. And some gummy bears. And these are sour gummy bears. We like a lot of sour candy in this house. Ah, don't fall apart. The train is falling apart. There we go. Crisis averted. And, you know, disaster is part of the fun, too. And then we got some of these jelly rings. I'll put those on the other brownie car. And a couple in here with the sours and the regular things. And that is a finished train. And I'm going to try to bring the tray over so you can get a better look at the finished project. The filling up the train cars at the end goes really fast if you do it like me and you just sort of throw everything in there in the kitchen sink. But, you know, if you've got little ones that want to take more time, or if you want to be more artistic with it, you can put anything you want in these train cars. If you have more train cars in this also, then, you know, it could take more time. But for me, I just sort of took what I had and started throwing, and that only took a few seconds. So this is, since I don't have a big enough, so that's one too many of these orange slices, that's going to go away. Okay, so it looks like if you overstuff these train cars, they do try to fall apart, so be careful of that. Just try to be gentle with stuffing the things in there. I'm going to put this on this other brownie car. You can also glue down the candies on the brownie car if you don't want them to fall apart, if you have to move it around a lot, but I'm just going to leave them loose. Anyway, I don't have a baking sheet, and I don't have any bigger trays. The biggest tray I have is just like a turkey platter that's oval and is kind of slanted, and I didn't think it would work. So what we did was just washed the lid of a plastic tote box. And that has become the place that the train is going to live on. Let's see. There we go. And there is the engine and the train cars. And the train tracks are Kit Kats and pretzel rods. And stick everything together with cake icing. And my brain is thoroughly fried. I am very pleased with myself that I've lasted this long on a stream tonight without losing my mind being nervous. I think this is about where I'm going to call it quits. Does anybody know of any streams that are live right now that don't have very many people watching? Don't have very many people watching. Sorry, I didn't realize I had the volume on my computer and the stream pulled up in the background. Anyway, as I was trying to say, does anybody have any channels that you would like to raid? Since I think I'm about ready to call it quits on this stream. I have been trying to follow a bunch of people, but I'm new to Twitch as a viewer as well as a streamer, so I don't really know that many channels yet, and I don't know, who's live right now or who's going to be, doing content that anybody would be interested in raiding. But if anybody has any ideas, then we could sure raid somebody. It could be somebody with a lot of people watching, but I want to try to spread the love around to other small streamers if I can. And if not, then we can just call it a night. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed your other comment, Strongish Gull. I'm a professional candy engineer. Thank you. I'm not. My mom was pretty good at it, but I'm pretty happy with what we ended up with. But a lot of it was guesswork. It's a pretty easy craft to do. I think if you're ever interested in making a candy train, there's all sorts of pictures you can find on Google Images or Pinterest or something like that, just to get a bunch of ideas, and then you can really use any ingredients you want to make a candy train out of, as long as it is something like the brownies or saltine crackers or graham crackers or gingerbread or anything like that you can form into a box shape for the cars, and then anything round for the wheels, and then after that it's just a matter of making the train tracks and filling up the cars with random treats and snacks. And it doesn't have to all be candy either. It can just be like a cookie train. Just whatever you want. So I'm going to be still working on following more channels and finding more channels so that I have a better chance of somebody being live on my sidebar when I end streams. I've been trying to find people who tend to go live about when I would be ending my streams later on in the evening at my time. But, that'll get better as we go. Sorry I couldn't think of anybody to raid for tonight, but have a great night, morning, day, whatever it is, whatever time it is where you are. If you celebrate, then Merry Christmas. If not, then I just hope you have a great day. And thank you so much for coming to my stream and watching. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Bye.